Hey, I'm Nick McLaughlin, ADHD Coach with ADHD, and today I just wanted to talk to the women out there that have ADHD or think they have ADHD. If you're wondering why you were not diagnosed earlier or why women are not diagnosed as much as men. First off, I'm just going to say that women are almost 70% less likely to get diagnosed than men, so this is a huge issue. And honestly, a lot of that comes down to stereotypes basically of what ADHD is supposed to look like because it's so prominent in boys, and the symptoms for boys and men are so loud that it makes women's symptoms seem like they're non-existent, but it's not true. What happens is women will usually internalize their ADHD a lot more. So a girl may be hyperactive as well, and it still may come out like she's just struggling with inattentive type, which is basically where you're not as talkative, you're not as fidgety. The stereotype is that if you have ADHD, you're going to be bouncing all over the walls, and you're going to be so talkative, telling everyone about your favorite taco spot and where it's near instead of what streets to take. And that's just not what ADHD always looks like. In fact, I'm an inattentive type, which means my struggles come out more with my work or with other areas that show in my lack of focus or procrastination, time management, disorganization, getting anxious. I always used to wonder why I was like that, but I would never know why. And it wasn't until I learned to embrace my ADHD and build a skill set, habits, and discipline around it that I was able to actually manage really well. By the way, if you struggle with ADHD, I have free downloads in the link below just for you. Like and subscribe to this video if you're finding it helpful so far. So a lot of times women will just internalize their ADHD a lot more. And that causes social challenges, which could be like rejection sensitivity or socialization issues, not initiating conversations. But that usually happens a lot with both men and women with ADHD, but it just shows differently. Women are more likely to have comorbidities as well, as usually the average ADHD woman has at least one comorbidity. Having ADHD is a very stressful thing to have if you don't know how to embrace it and manage it and master it. For me, I really struggled with getting anxious and overwhelmed, and I would guilt trip myself a lot because I didn't feel like I was amounting to the person next to me in the classroom or at work or even at the dinner table with my family. And that does cause a lot of anxiety, analysis, paralysis of how to get out of it, how to fix myself because I thought I was broken. But because women internalize their issues more, they're more likely to have more anxiety and not show it. And this can cause problems in their relationships because they're not bringing it up, because they're not showing it, and it makes it difficult for them and their partners to know how to treat it. Women can also be more hypersensitive to certain things than men with ADHD, like getting sensory overloads with textures or specific sights or sounds. And that's something that both men and women with ADHD also struggle with, but like I said, they show it differently. And it's not really easily traceable to ADHD. Men and women with ADHD can really struggle with overspending, not thinking things fully through, taking too big a risk on something. I know I used to struggle with that horribly. And it was never because I didn't have a good intention, but mostly just because I got so excited about the idea and it just seemed so obvious to me that it was the right thing to do. My dopamine would just spout out of my head, and it just felt so natural and so right to just do this one thing, to buy this one thing, to invest in this one thing, and to take this huge risk. But a lot of the times that happens without really thinking things through. This isn't really an obvious thing either. They aren't really obvious symptoms. These are all difficult things to go through, but it's hard because there's nothing really pointing specifically to, oh, this is ADHD, especially since people tend to have one idea of what ADHD is supposed to look like. So if you are looking to get diagnosed, go to your doctor, take a test. It does cost like a few $100s. It can be kind of costly, but if you really want to look into medication or just get closure, that's the best way to go. But if you're not really into that idea, if you're looking to just master and embrace your ADHD, I have a course down below, or you can talk to me about ADHD coaching. I'll put that in the link below as well. And what's great about that is you can master your habits and understand how your brain works and how you work, what works best for you, because like I said earlier, it's really hard to know what works for you until you talk to someone who's been through what you're going through, whether it's a man or a woman with ADHD. whoever you feel most appropriate, because just getting clarity can be an enormous first step. And usually with my clients, the first thing we do is we just get clarity, and I teach them everything they need to know so that they can understand, got it, now I know why I've been struggling with this particular issue, and now I know how to apply it. Because a lot of times you'll feel like you're a left-handed person in a right-handed world, and you don't really feel like you belong, but you belong enough to fit into society. That's at least how I've always felt with ADHD. And people will live with their right hands and force you to write with the right hand, even though it's not natural for you. And they'll see you trying, and then they'll think, well, it doesn't seem like you care, doesn't seem like you're doing very well. Are you lazy? Just try harder. When you're giving your everything and you're trying to learn to write with your right hand when you're naturally left-handed, for example, right? I mean left. So it's going to be a lot easier if you join a community of people with ADHD. If you learn to embrace who you are with ADHD and you realize, you know what, I'm going to double down on being, for example, left-handed, and I'm going to master that instead of forcing myself to be someone I'm not, which is right-handed in this example. It's very difficult to force something that just isn't meant to be. You're not meant to be a neurotypical person, but if you are meant to be a neurodiverse person, it will be so much easier to just embrace it rather than force yourself to be the other. I really hope you like this video, and I'd love to hear your comments below of where you're at in your ADHD journey.